All right, guys. Yeah, welcome aboard once again. And we'll just kick off right away because we don't have much time, like I mentioned earlier. So I'll just start by introducing you first of all to our trainer for tonight. So again, this is a taster class for the AWS Solutions Architects course. The main course actually will be happening next year, January. That's when we're gonna have the actual course. It's gonna be a week long, and again, this is gonna be a course that will prepare you for the real world solutions architect's role. So it's not one of those courses that you do and then you don't really know like where to go next from there. So this is the actual thing. It's gonna be like teaching you the actual thing that you need to know, for you to be able to like function in your role. And this person that is gonna train us today, he is full of experience, and I don't want to spend much time talking about him, but this is someone who has been a trainer, a teacher, a mentor for a very long time. And he's been a mentor to myself, been a teacher to myself way back in the university days. And everybody that went to school during my time in the same university actually knew him. You just need to mention the name and everybody would just tell you, oh, I know the guy. So his name is Dr. Akimbiyi Akindoyin, and we call him Laplace. Don't ask me how we came about the name. I don't know. But maybe when he jumps in, he will be telling you a little bit more about that. Yeah, so basically he's a very humble guy. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want like so much accolades. So I just thought, how could I even like introduce him to to the simplest? I don't know how to like do that, but I've just put like 3 snippets here, 3 points, just to like mention that he's a multi-cloud he's a consultant in multi-cloud architecture and strategy, consulting for big firms. Here is someone who is a researcher in machine learning, and in also like different areas of security, cloud security. And he is a researcher who earned his PhD from the prestigious Imperial College, London. So, oh, sorry, could you please mute yourself? Okay, I've done that. So, yeah, we are going to be hearing from the horse's mouth just in a second. So, I'll leave the floor and yeah, pass the mic to Dr. Akindoyin. Over to you, please. Hello, how you there?
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for the introduction. Um, so today I will be just whetting your appetite on cloud computing in general, and my remit here will be to focus more on AWS, right? Because I think that's what those are the big players in the market anyway currently. So, but to a large extent, it's very interactive. I wouldn't, um, take all the time to get through all the content, because you can Google this stuff and get all the knowledge online, to be honest. But I want to hear more from you. It's very interactive. I'll ask questions. I'll leave the floor open for you to ask questions, and it will be get towards the main course. We are trying to organize a week-long training, to get deep dive into AWS and get you up to speed to what the industry expects from you as an architect, really. But before I do that, let me just give you a brief background of myself. I currently work as a consultant for financial service, majorly on my clients. But I do some things with telecoms, healthcare, and largely retail, sector too. So I've experience across all those verticals. Um, what do I do day to day? I write strategy documents largely. Now, initially I used to be very, very, hands-on doing coding, and but later I moved into strategy and architecture. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years now. So I help organization with their journey towards cloud, adopting cloud largely across organization, build frameworks around that, and yeah, everything cloud computing really could range from machine learning to cost optimization, to wireless, to serverless, you know, and a lot of remits around that really. So that's me in a brief. My educational background, maybe you can, you already mentioned that, but I don't want to dwell so much on that. But let's get to the reason why we are here. So we want to learn more about this big player in the industry called AWS. So how did they come to be? What's the cloud model? What exactly is cloud itself? When you talk about cloud, what does it mean? It means different things to different people. So it's just a set of servers, somewhere, and you're actually paying to use those servers or those services via an API. That's the summary. So it's an utility-based computing where someone else's server, you're consuming resources on it by a web interface or an API. Okay, that's just what cloud computing is. So Amazon, back then, a while back, came with that idea because they have a lot of servers, a lot of data centers, and there was an event, a Black Friday event back then, and they discovered that there was a spike in resource use on that same day, whereas in other days they have all this infrastructure, all those resources that are highly underutilized, and they just came up with the idea: can't we just have a service-based model where firms subscribe to these services and they pay per use. Okay, so that's the whole idea of utility computing, and that's where the whole concept of cloud computing evolved from, and Amazon Web Service was born. I think 15 years ago or thereabout. Okay, so it's quite it's I won't say new, but it's an emerging it's fast growing area of IT that is highly financially rewarding because a lot of firms are moving towards that model. Okay, so it's evolved over time. It's evolved over the years, and there are a lot of services being offered by AWS now, from compute to storage to analytics to database, to application management, networking, and from what you can see on the screen, they have various services. I think they have over 500 services and still counting on AWS platform. And I'm sure it can only keep growing. As the technology evolved and they tried to abstract a lot of functionality from users. And that's the whole idea, right? You abstract all those complexity, all those intricacy of the technology away from the user. The user just want to use it with a simple UI, or you just have an internet and just consume it. Okay, so we're going to talk about all this consumption model today. Well, I think the main takeaway from this course would be to just whet your appetite about the cloud computing in general, specifically on AWS. We'll talk about a few of their services. Of course, we're not going to go in depth. We're just going to tell you how those services help organizations achieve their vision, their strategy, and become more profitable. Okay, so if you go to the next slide, let me see what's, because this slide, if not been able to, because I'm away from London. I'm in Houston currently, so um, most of my clients are in Europe, but sometimes I have some clients in Houston in the States. So I'm currently working on off-site now, really. So I've not been able to put a well-structured presentation for this teaser class, because this is the key. This is the main slide for the real training, for the actual training. I will tell you more about the actual training when I'm done. Okay, so like I mentioned, there are, AWS have data centers that are distributed worldwide. I don't know the exact number now, but I know they're expanding really fast. They have in Europe, of course they do. They have in South Africa, South America, North America. Now they're expanding into Africa. They have one already in South Africa. Now, I think they're looking at moving to Nigeria. They have trying to establish their center in Nigeria. So it's it's growing really fast. Okay. And they provide on-demand delivery of IT services, like I just mentioned. It's delivery based. You pay for what you use, and they deliver those services on demand. All you just need to have is internet and a browser. You can access all the services and your credit card, of course. So they offered both shared and dedicated resources. Shared, where you can share hardware resources with other customers. Of course, that's cheaper compared to the dedicated resources. So dedicated servers are quite expensive. So meaning a particular rack is only meant to be used by organization. No one else is sharing it with you. And in general, the whole cloud paradigm gives this list of benefits. Economies of scale. Yeah, you can quickly scale your business with a few clicks of a button. You can go global in seconds. There are a lot of services that can help you achieve that. So you don't need to incur a lot of cost in terms of capex. So you move from a capex model to an opex model, where you only pay for operational and day-to-day running of your business. So you don't need to incur any upfront cost, and you can scale better. So account isolation at hypervisor level. Yeah, of course, AWS provide account isolation, where you can have multiple accounts for different departments, and each of those accounts are isolated from each other. And like I mentioned, it's pay as you go model. So if you're not using the resource, you're not paying for it. You only pay for what you use. And that's the beauty about cloud computing. So whenever you're not using any, operationally, you're not like, for example, if you're not in business, or people are not making API calls to your servers or anything, you don't get charged for it. But we're gonna go a deep dive into that, because part of the key thing of cloud computing is most businesses think, cloud, of course, we're going to save you cost, and after adopting it, they don't have this strategy in place to help checkmate all these things. They end up spending more on the cloud. So it's happening, and there's a new, it's not new, but it's a focus area called FinOps. So FinOps is critical to most organizations adopting cloud computing now, to help cost optimization in cloud, because the key benefit is to save money. And if you're adopting cloud, that's what the benefit the C-level executive want to see. But if they're not seeing that, then maybe the strategy, the onset strategy is not working for the organization, and most organizations currently struggle with that. Okay. Reduce maintenance and admin cost, of course, as I mentioned. There's a lot of products, avalanche of them, but the popular ones are compute, storage, database, Kubernetes. There are a lot of them, really. All right, next slide, please. Right, so on large scale, right? AWS have this global infrastructure spread across the globe. So they're all categorized into regions. Okay, and if you can see the map on the screen, I think this is quite updated. So if you count those dots, those are the data centers. Okay, currently owned by AWS, the global infrastructure. Okay, so they're all grouped into regions, and within the regions we have things like availability zones. Okay, so availability zones, help to achieve that highly available architecture or setups where physically you can separate workload into separate availability zone and help have that redundancy across zones. Okay, so local zones are just a group of regions, really. Then edge locations, if you want to serve users as close as possible to your data center, so edge locations can be used for that. Edge location help to reduce latencies for user. I'll give you a typical example. If your business is situated in, for example, Mumbai in India, okay, and you deploy your AWS resources in North Virginia, for example, okay, you're in Mumbai, but your services, you're calling your services out of North Virginia, maybe for key services that are probably not available in another region, you're using North Virginia. Okay, so edge location can help users that are close as possible to India to use edge location situated in India rather than go to fetch services at North Virginia at this point in time. So edge location is very, very, very critical for the whole end-to-end user experience in the cloud. Okay, next. So the rest are just these are regions. For example, I just give examples of those regions. This is not updated yet, but there's Africa now. There's South Africa data center that's been launched recently. So maybe this slide might probably need to be updated. So the reasons why do you need to choose a region as close as possible to you? So you need to optimize for latency, minimize cost, and a lot of regulatory requirements by governments of different countries to be able to have resources, data residing within your region. I'll give you an example. Has anyone heard about GDPR? GDPR is a regulation from UK government on how customers' data are handled. Okay, so typically for some organization, they are that are affected by GDPR needs to know how they store customers' data, and the customers' data needs to be stored within the UK, and you have to use data center within the UK. You can store data outside the UK for key customer data. So of course, then you need to use region that are compliant with those regulations. Okay. So availability zones, they are the key physical isolated zones within a region. So each region has that multiple physically isolated zones, and they are connected via this fast fiber optic network. So when you talk about availability, they're actually physical rack within your data center. Okay, can we go to the next one, please? Yeah, local zone, like I mentioned, they're just an extension of your region. They're just AWS start offering this now. Um, so when you have a large population on industrial height centers, you can actually offer that local zone to that region. Next, um, edge location, as I mentioned, it helps you to cache content as close as much as possible to the user. So in effects of reducing latency and help provide DDoS protection. So next one, please. Right, wavelengths. So these are key. These are new kind of services for your telecoms industry. To manage 5G networks, and they're largely used by telecoms company. But these are quite advanced kind of services. Can you scroll down to, let's talk about the cloud model. So if you go, yeah, just go forward, please. Yeah, go forward, skip all this, go back. Yeah, so let's talk about cloud models here. So this is critical to understand how cloud computing works. So in general, there are more to these models, but in general, it can be generally classified into three, right? So there's IaaS, there's PaaS, there's SaaS. So if you're going for an interview, these are critical understanding that you must have, and organization will try to test you on all this to ensure that you understand exactly what cloud computing models are. So what's IaaS? IaaS, just the building blocks, right? That the first layer, right? Your servers, they are the key things you first provisioned. Those are infrastructure as a service. Okay, so if you go a level higher there, you have what we call platform as a service. So here, AWS will manage the underlying infrastructure, usually the hardware and the operating system. All you just need to do is just bring your data onto the platform. Okay, how does the platform scale? How does it, burst to meet traffic? Those are handled by AWS. You don't need to bother about that. And its key example is RDS, EMR. We'll talk about all this in the main course. Okay. The last top on the on the stack is software as service. Okay, but this model is the easiest one, right? So the cloud provider handles all the underlying infrastructure, the bulk everything into your products and just sell to you. All you need to use is just your browser. You can consume this service. For example, your Office 365. So if you're using Outlook, okay, which is part of Office 365, all you just need was just to go to that URL, do some multi-factor authentication, and yeah, you can use the service at the go. You don't need to. It's subscription based, right? You don't need to own any hardware. You don't need to do any setup. You just consume the service. Okay. On top of the hierarchy, we have something called functional service, but it's not listed here. But probably want to get aware of that. Using things like Lambda to make calls, and once you make an API call, the Lambda triggers and do certain functions or certain things. And once the Lambda is done with the task, it gets shut down. That's another model that's probably not shown on this. Okay, next one. Okay, yeah, so this is serverless, which is functional service. Okay, so it can build and run application without actually, thinking about its, servers. So behind the scenes, the server is provisioned, does exactly what it wants to do, and after that, it shuts down the server. So a good example is your X3 bucket, use Lambda behind the scene, they abstract everything. DynamoDB, SNS, those key things use Lambda to run behind the hood. That's what it runs everything. Next. Right, so the first one we talk about is the model, but deployment models are different, right? So when you deploy, can deploy in cloud, which is what we're talking about now. What the traditional model is to deploy on-premise, which is more, you own all the resource management tool and everything within your organization. You actually build physical data center, and that's the traditional way of doing it. But cloud now is fully managed by someone else. And that's what cloud is. Hybrid is, when you combine both cloud and on-prem together. Okay. Next, please. So how are we doing with time? Okay, we have a few. So AWS provide this web interface to access services. So we have the console, and this, this is where you create accounts, you monitor your cost. It has a lot of things embedded in it, and in the main course, we go through creating an account, setting up security around this, MFA, and all those key things that you need to do on your account. And the manual console gives that interface that you can do all these things. Okay. Next, please. So yeah, to interact with a lot of services within AWS, you can use SDK and CLI access. SDK is software development kit. You can use to create application that is, AWS services, and a lot of languages supported by SDK, JavaScript, Node.js. So if you know any of these languages, you're good to go. You can actually start writing applications using services. Provide API that enables access to AWS, and you can use HTTPS call. You can use REST API calls, and support all this. Next, please. Right, so these are links for you to read more about each of the services. They love products on the product page. The new link gives you what is new and a lot of new services that have been deployed in AWS. Next. Right, so this is how way you can start accounts, create an account. But like I mentioned, this is a detailed slide for the main course. So I put together close to like 450 pages of this document, step by step, and that's what I would encourage you to join the class. The main class, it's going to be very intensive anyway, and it show you step by step ways of creating an application within AWS, cost optimization, how to architect your solution for by design, for security, for reliability, for performance, for costs, and all those key NFRs. Go on, please. Right. Yeah, I've mentioned this slide. So what we're gonna do? Go back, please. So what we're gonna do in the class, the main course, is to go through each and every key services there and talk about the prominent one. Okay, like the compute, definitely gonna talk about EC2. We'll configure EC2. We write a website. A generic one. It could be a web portal for a retail store. We'll see how we can migrate that to AWS. We'll do the end-to-end configuration. We're gonna write scripts to call that, and probably deploy that on an IaaS, on EC2 instance. We'll do the end-to-end configuration of DNS and how to use each of those services. Okay, but now I'm not going to go into details of each of the services because that's left for the main course, really. But today we're just showing you the avalanche of services in AWS that you can actually leverage for your organization. And I'm sure most of you on the call want to get certified in AWS and potentially use that skill set to get a job in the industry and help those organizations that really don't know much, because trust me, most organizations don't know much about cloud to just learning on the go, really. But if you have an hands-on experience, which is what the course is going to teach you, key hands-on experience that you can, be confident enough to go for those interviews and get a job. I've been teaching cloud for 5, 6 years now. It's been a while, but most of my students after the course, within I think less than 6 months, they get offers and they call me up and like, I got these 3 offers. Which one should I go for? I advise students to pick the ones that you know that will give you the exposure rather than the money for now. Because once you get the exposure and get the right knowledge and skill sets, the money will definitely come. So I will leave the floor open now if there are questions.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Akin. So guys, again, this is a tester class, and this slide that that we've been going through is actually a lot of pages. It's about 200 pages, and like he mentioned, this is something that he's prepared in advance for the main course that is going to happen itself. Now we can't, I mean, there is only so much we can do within this kind of short period, but he's mentioned that he would love this to be interactive. So we believe that a lot of people joining from around the world tonight will have questions. It's a lot of you have questions around like cloud computing, or you're probably just thinking about like diving into this niche, or you probably even have maybe written a couple of AWS certifications, and you don't know where to go from there, and you want to be sure if this training that we are offering, which is going to be in January, again, is the right one for you, or whatever questions you have in mind, this is the right time to actually drop in now. Yeah, if you like, if you don't want to talk, you might just drop your question within the chat box, and I can read it for you. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, the floor is open. Ask your questions, please. Hi guys, is anyone there? So maybe we should start by asking, so how many of us have actually used some AWS service before? You can just speak, like unmute yourself. Remember, you are all muted, so you may just unmute yourself and just let us know if you've got an answer to that. Like, some of you have probably used AWS services before, like cloud services. It might even be like maybe some other ones. Some of you might have used maybe GCP, that's the Google Cloud one, before, or Azure, which is by Microsoft. So has anyone here heard the word AWS services before? Or maybe I should just ask, so why are you here tonight? What do you actually want to get? Okay, that's the right question for now. Let's see, because yeah, that may lead us into deep diving into for the details. So why are you actually here tonight? What do you really want to learn from this session? Why have you joined?
Hiya, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Oh, hi, sorry, yeah, it took a while to unmute. So with your first question, um, I've done my cloud practitioner exam already, but I did it a while ago. So, um, yeah, I just dialed in for like a refresher basically because I'm hoping to do the next exam probably next year sometime when I have a bit of leave from work. Um, in terms of like having used AWS before, like I've logged into the AWS Amazon like console and I've like had a play around on there. Um, got a few charges from not shutting down things properly, but yeah, so I just kind of yeah, it's just like out of interest and a refresher basically why like I signed up for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kadeja, from London. Yeah, that's yeah. Talking about the AWS charges, man, I think we've all been there. You know, you just forgot to like shut down some services and then you end up being charged. So Dr. Akin, anything to say to that?
Yeah. Khadija. So that's interesting. So you, from my understanding, you've passed the practitioner and you're looking to explore or take that skill set further into the solution architect, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's just that I did the practitioner exam before COVID and I just haven't really touched it regularly since then.
All right,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's good. I think this course is actually meant for people like you that have left it for a while, or have that basic knowledge, but you just want to get more skill sets or more in-depth knowledge or deep dive into AWS. So like I mentioned, the course we teach you hands-on practical step by step.
Hmm.
We give you practical, takeaways to do, projects to do. So you can have that, that's once you finish the course, you're so confident that you can say, yeah, I really know how to use AWS, how to use the services really well. And I think the main thing for me is using that knowledge to actually land a job market,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of you want to use that to progress your career or to switch career. So that course will be very, very, very essential to you. And I think one thing I probably want to call out is if you're not ready to do hard work, please don't sign up for the course because it's going to be really an intense 1 week training. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Longe Bolanle. Yeah, I've used what is it called? The IAM. I've done some stuff on it. My BPC created, then EC2. I think S3. I've tried it before, and that's all. Yeah. So I'm here to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Akin, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But please, you have good knowledge about the services. You've used them before, but you just want to understand how everything fits together architecturally. That course is actually really meant for you, really, because we're going to go in depth into each of those services. We're going to play with the APIs. Build services and application with those services, and that will potentially help you, cement your understanding of those services, really. So yeah, you're in the right place actually.
Yeah, good one, good one. Yeah, anyone else with some AWS experience? I mean, it doesn't matter if you've never used any cloud architecture, any cloud tech ever before. So it doesn't matter. Again, this course it's one in which you'll be taken through the basics, and then you jump right in right from the middle into you do deep dive into the all the services within AWS. And okay, yeah, someone is there. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to say I'm a novice on this particular AWS, but I believe, or I should say, I want to ask that being a novice means being a beginner to me. So with this course, actually open our eyes to everything, every garden thing that we are going to need. And as Dr. Aki said, majorly my main purpose of actually trying to attend the course is basically because I actually want to use it to make a kind of a progress in my career. Would there be a broad chance, as in a kind of eye opener that if at the end of the training I could be able to fit into one or two organizations, I would be able to from here after the course, I will be able to progress in my career. Will the course be a kind of a enlightening opportunity for me to be able to fit into one or two position? I actually want to know that. Will it be an extensive fund that, okay, I will be very dependent on my own to be able to tackle one or two things in the outside world? So then I actually want to talk about the cost, if it's possible for a kind of discount or things like that. So thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Akin.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for that question. Right. So there are two things. For you, if you don't have good knowledge or background knowledge of AWS, that's fine. The first few days will be used to, water your appetite on it, give you all the needed prerequisite knowledge that you need. And trust me, it could potentially go spiral after because you're going to be writing some application. So a bit of background of IT might be needed, really. But like I said, the first 2 days, if you're committed to it, it's not rocket science. It's just spending more time understanding and reading about what we've discussed and making sure that you follow through the classes. You do all the takeaways, you engage in the class, and yeah, you should be fine. There's no, if you're making a career switch, those are the sacrifices you have to make. You have to be committed to, getting all the information you need to succeed. And those are the things we're going to be teaching you in the course. Okay. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So she was also asking, I think the second question there, if I remember, she was like, okay, can they get some discount or something?
Discounts? What do you mean discounts?
Oh yeah, sorry. She was referring to the cost of the training. So I don't know if the rest of you, if everyone knows, but I think I made some posts and I actually advertised the actual training itself, and it's 800 quid for the whole week. And remember, I mean, this also entails mentorship. Okay, so
sorry, 800 pounds, right?
yeah. Hello.
I heard you. I just want to confirm 800 pounds.
Yeah. So
okay.
So, sorry, who asked the question? Who was speaking just now? Sorry.
Addison.
Okay, Addison. Yeah. So, 800 quid, and again, this entails the mentorship, and I'm telling you, normally, this is not the first time that Dr. Akin is training people in any cloud technology at all. Again, is a multi-cloud, actually award-winning professional. If you like, go to his LinkedIn, and then you will see some of, like, maybe there's some research works that he's done, and also like some awards that he's won and stuff like that. So he's versatile in AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and this is what he does even in his dreams. I believe. So now the usual cost is over £1,000, and actually, if I talk about some other people that I've worked with in the past, also they charge like nothing less than $3,000, in dollars, actually $3,000, and also they spread the course, I think through like 2 months minimum, and so on, like that. And some people, after like attending some like 2 months long or 3 months long courses, they come back saying that they've actually forgotten some details, and they became unsure and stuff like that. But with this kind of intensive, what sets you apart if you take this kind of course compared to such people that take like highly way expensive courses, which they eventually won't even know like what direction to flow with, is the fact that you will get mentorship, from Dr. Akin. He's mentored a lot of us. I mean, including myself. Like I mentioned, I used to be one of his students from way back in the uni, and yeah, so you will benefit from that. And it's best you have someone who has been in the system already, someone who knows what you're going to be asked during the interview, someone who can actually encourage you and let you know how to how train you on how to become more confident, and and really go out there and hit the ground running. So basically, so that's just the difference. Okay. If possible, he would have done this for free, but we just know from experience that a lot of people don't really get committed when things are free. And also, we are taking his time, actually. So I did a lot of like begging him to reduce that cost to 800, and a few people have already shown interest. So now, if you've got any further question, now is the time to ask your questions around the training that's going to happen in January. And if you have any requests, you can make it right now. And yeah, here we are, guys. So I think we've got a few minutes left.
How many hours per day will this take? How many hours per day will it take us for the training on daily basis? Hello?
Yeah. So Dr. Akin.
How many hours per day will it take us on daily basis?
Right. So typically that will be communicated by Oyale. So he's going to do you have anything in mind, Oyale? But largely to be after work hours in the UK. I'm thinking average of 3-4 hours per day.
Right. And it's gonna be a week long.
Yeah, it's gonna be a week long.
Would there be a recording, script to be distributed along for each and every one of us, so that at the end of the class we can decide to like have a,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah. There will be recording that will be shared around, distributed.
yeah, and once again, I actually mean it. If it's possible for you to just bring down the cost. I know we're actually taking your time, and a lot of things are really involved, which I know this thing is not something that we have to take for granted like that. But if it's possible, anyway, that's it.
Yeah, Oyale will get back to you guys on that. Okay?
Yeah, we'll definitely communicate the costs. So thank you for the request. Yeah, let's give him some time to
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, think about that. And then I'll definitely like communicate that within the Slack group. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to set up a Slack group to which I will add those that show interest. If you would like to be part of the Slack group, let me know. I can see some people already showing interest, so I'll add it to the Slack group, and then you can ask your questions in there, and that's through which I'll be communicating henceforth about details about the training and the costs, the final costs, and and a lot more information about the training itself. Thank you. So yeah, guys, we've got about 9 minutes to go. If you have any questions at all around AWS, I understand some of us have never, some of us are already in IT, and we are just thinking about maybe switching roles, trying something more challenging, actually more rewarding as well. And you can, after this training, you can sit back and just check on your phone to see how much like an AWS expert gets paid, and you'll be amazed. This is something to actually think about for the new year. You switch your career to something that will actually benefit you for like decades. Once you go AWS and like once you go cloud, you never go back really, because it's not that kind of role that you dive into and then you begin to like scramble for some other things to do. There's so much around all of these things. And so Dr. Akin is definitely coming into for the main course, is coming into like open up and dissect, I'll call it dissect the whole of this cloud services, especially AWS. We are focusing on AWS. So it's coming into dissect the all services for you. And and I believe, again, remember, the goal of this training is not for you to just, if you know that you're not going to use this to get a job, and you just like want to attend some training for attendance sake, I'll say this is not the right training for you. But if you are actually looking to switch role or to move into AWS cloud, and you've thought about it and you are ready for 2023, you actually want to get a job, you want to do this, then this is the right course for you. This is the right course for you. Taught by an expert, and you'll be mentored by this expert. And yeah, you'll definitely have your testimonies in the end. So I think that's the last word from me. So I'll just leave the floor open for like 1 more minute. If you've got a question, just let me know. Yeah. All right, guys, I think this is it, right? All right. So thank you all for joining. Again, it's short and sweet. It's just a taster class anyway. But if you have questions afterwards, please drop us an email, and also maybe like drop us a WhatsApp chat if you want. Yeah, and ask your questions. And thank you for those who have actually left your emails to be added to the group, to the Slack group. Yeah, so further information about the main course itself will be passed on there. And yeah, I think this is it. Thank you very much, Dr. Akin, for joining tonight. And thank you all for joining from all over the world. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you. So I'd like to say bye now. Bye.